It's another men liking stuff in Universe. This is a full panel, and it is the Primarch whose name I cannot say. I talked about this. I have been practicing Roboute Guilliman. Was that okay, guys?
Oh,
Yeah, that
that's
works.
fine.
All right, I got it out once. I will screw this up. And then Horus Lupercal, his heresy. Horus broke the Imperium. Robute's trying to fix it in what is bumping into Warhammer 42K. We are going to tackle about 12,000 years of continuity on this panel. So we'll go counterclockwise this time. We'll start with Jan Helge and his beautiful imperial temple to the God Emperor, which the God Emperor doesn't like. So, Jan Helge, where do you start with Horus and Roboute?
Well, um, I guess I mean, when I first got uh into 40K, I got into it through uh Luton '09, and um he's a huge Reboot Guilliman stan. So I do have a bit of a love for the Smurfs because it is they are these sort of by the book kind of guys, but they also have like as we're going to strike on later, an extreme adaptability. They are probably the most adaptable chapter uh in the modern 40K setting. While during the Horus Heresy, uh, they're a little bit. I'm not going to say rigid, but they are probably a little bit too much by the book. I mean, there's the whole um, teal thing where, uh, yeah. There's a bunch of stuff we can address, but I also have a lot of love for Horus because the first books that I read in the 40K setting was Horus Rising and False Gods and Galaxy in
Okay.
Flames. So yeah, so there's there's a lot of love as well for the Luna Wolves, as I want to
Oh,
call them.
original name. Okay.
Yeah,
The original name.
absolutely.
All right. And you mentioned the Smurfs. We'd be remiss to not point out that the Ultramarines are one of the most beloved. They're definitely sort of a poster boy. Legion, you see them on a lot of box art, a lot of like statues at conventions and things like that. But there are a lot of memes. They are somewhat maligned in some places. I won't call them polarizing because these are fictional characters for God's sakes, but that is definitely some people have a love or hate
For Emperor's
relationship.
sakes.
For Emperor's sake, that's a good for God Emperor's sake. That's heresy. Wow, this gets confusing. Okay, Stephen, what brought you to the is it Reboot or Reboute? I can't say both this dude's names.
Look, you're just gonna
Oh,
get like stuff like robot girly man from me this whole entire time. So that's you're just gonna have to deal with that.
I have Sinch now, but I do not have the Ultramarines Primarch. There we go. It's like the Scottish play for me. So what brought you to this panel?
I mean, I think just like these are the two most important Primarchs, like you said. You have Horus, who was the favorite son, and then now you have, Roboute as the new favorite son. So that's kind of like where I'm at, so you can't really talk about 40K without talking about either one of them.
Yeah, yeah, they are pretty essential. Matthew, how about you? We already did your factions, so what brought you to the
yeah, we
Horus
did.
panel? Yeah.
Well, I said I'd do whatever you needed, and I got put here, so I'm here. But
That's
no,
such an ultramarine move, man.
yeah, don't paint me with that brush, man. It's no, that's not cool. No, Yeah, it's one of the funny things. You keep apologizing about. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Ranting. And yeah, I get that. So there's a lot of places where everyone's very, technical and this is how it's pronounced. This is on all this sort of stuff. And I think it says everything you need to know about Guilliman is no matter how you say his name, I don't really care. I know who you're talking about. It's yeah, okay, who cares? They're very much just the all-American Boy Scouts. It's okay, cool. They're on every box art. They're on every thing. They're there to win. Okay, you see if you see if you see uh, the 13th Legion fighting, okay, yeah, so we're gonna win this one. All right, it's an Imperial victory. Um, Even when they lose, they never really lose.
Hmm.
They got it's always a Pyrrhic victory for the forces of chaos when they do win. And it's like, yeah, okay, great. Horus as well. I mean, great character. Um, very much doomed fall though. You know what's going on with it. I will say though, for the Lunar Wolves, what actually have one of my favorite characters in the entirety of 40K, which is Garvia Loken.
Mhm.
It's one of the
You're a
best.
Loken fan too, eh? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he has one of the best arcs throughout the whole heresy. He's done horrendously dirty at the end, but never mind. Um, then so yeah, that one very much so. But Horus, yeah, cool.
It,
Um,
it's funny you say that you see Roboute. I'm Canadian. I'm self-conscious about the oots, okay? But
um,
as American coded, because I see him as like Scottish, Gaulish, French. I mean, it's
I
the
mean,
name
potato,
origin is.
potato, right? It's.
Don't tell the European French that we got a Quebecer here.
I
Yeah.
know. It's no, all I mean by that is it's it's just that clean cut image.
Right,
I mean, it's one they're all it's just I mean you could just say Boy Scouts or just the good guys by the rules. Help the old lady cross the road. I mean, maybe it's just
right.
maybe just a damning sign of the Americanization that's gone on in everyone's culture
Yeah,
that I just went for American Boy Scouts. But
because
um,
he's so Scottish coded to me.
I
Wait, he's
mean,
he's the most Roman Primarch that ever Primarch.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've
Was
never thought Scottish with him.
maybe
Um,
because McCraig.
I mean, quite possibly,
Yeah.
but
Like
no.
Gaulish is to me where he fits. But that's the thing, because they draw from bits. I just found that interesting. Like there's no right or wrong to this.
No, it's. That's the thing about Guilliman. Again, just for me, I mean, obviously, some people, passionately love the Ultramarines and Guilliman and all the rest of it. But the most damning thing I can say about the character, because you fully acknowledge extremely important character, massively involved in hugely pivotal moments,
Yeah.
does not inspire strong emotions either way. It's like if they would come out and tomorrow and go, no, no, this is exactly what it is, and it was completely different to what the image I have. I was like, oh, okay, fine. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not so. I mean, Horus less so, because I mean, but Horus has to fill a very defined role in the lore,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like you can't really change him, So he's much more fixed and rooted in time in that respect. It's like you say with Gulliman's history, spans 12,000 years. Well, I mean, to be fair, he was unconscious for most of that,
Right.
but Horus, you know, dead and gone in a few hundred-ish.
Yeah, Horace just gives you so many reasons to not like him for me, but I'll avoid. Mike, why are you on this panel?
Well, because like this is because it's like these two are kind of like the pillars of Warhammer 40K, especially for the Imperium. You can't really discuss anything about what the Imperium has done or is doing, without mention them. I kind of like Horus is like to me, I think he's a very well, like, doomed tragic character. It's like some of his unlikabilities is like, okay, I kind of like from a storytelling perspective, I like it because like, okay, this makes your fall kind of like a little bit more not out of nowhere, but a lot more foreshadowing. Like, oh, hey, this fall, yeah, I can see why you fell to chaos and all that. And as for I call him Roboute Guilliman, also, Tim, like I almost like find him like a little bit more interesting, in like the 42K, like after his reawakening, just because it's like you have like kind of like the person who wants to do the right thing, do the good thing, but at the cost. But in the system that is so beyond insane, it's like how do you try to be a good person in a horrific system, especially when you
Yeah.
have power in that system? That's why I kind of find Rude, a lot more interesting, like a post awakening versus his heresy depictions.
Okay. Awesome. Now, Carl, I left you for last because you understand the pain of the name pronunciation. Guilliman is how I want to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, I sometimes have that issue with the
Yeah,
last
because
name.
it's Guillaume, right? Like the root of his name.
Yeah.
The Norman surname. But why are you on this panel? You, as usual, came with a ton of notes and a ton of
Uh,
points.
I
So
actually
why are you
have
here?
I have less notes because it's definitely the two Primarch that I'm really more related as because I have like a job that which requires a lot of leadership. So I look these two as different perspectives, like what leadership is, what lessons I take from, what uh I feel like is I can learn from what like I would say like yeah, I agree that Horus, even without chaos, he might potentially rebel against the Emperor eventually, the way he was going. And Roboute is the one that I would say he is the most likely to have landed uh in Kansas in a way like Superman.
A perfect society for him. Yeah.
Yeah, because he grew up with a mom and a dad, unlike like most other Primarchs. And he landed like what's the homeworld? Not Macrog
McCrog.
Ultramar, or I would like to call it Super Rome.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Hmm.
Now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
it's like I actually like I see like the when he was creating the codex in 30K during the scouring and when he was reawakened in 42K, you see there's a difference, there's a growth with Roboute between these two time periods.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, you've got the sort of alignment with these two that they both end up really badly wounded, fatal wound that isn't fatal. There's
Yeah.
symbolism there. But, as we said, one of the things we wanted to touch on is unlike some of the planets the Primarchs ended on, both of their um societies and where Horus ends up, there's speculation whether Chaos did that on purpose, right? Whether Chaos assured that he would be the first one found. It's the closest, I believe, the closest planet to Terra. They can
Well, it's
actually,
the it's the closest habitable
habitable
system.
planet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that they could
Uh,
actually reach that without using warp jumps. So he's the first one found.
Yes, he
yeah.
was he was landed right next to the
Well,
planet of Terra.
again, not if you ask Alfarius. So
Huh?
just want to get that
Don't
point
ask
in there.
Alfarius. Don't ask Alfarius. But yeah,
I shocked Mike so much that its camera fell down
yeah,
again.
I was blaming Corn for the camera falling down. But yeah, the way they handle politics is so different. And Helga, you wanted to bring this up because
Yeah.
there's duty on Guilliman's case. Like everything is, well, there was uh, Caesar style assassination of my stepfather. We have to avenge him. Tragic, but also shows his commitment to duty and the very real belief that things are the way they are for a reason. I think.
Yeah.
He's definitely got that going. Whereas Horus, I can't tell what parts, and this is deliberate, can't tell what parts of that guy are artifice and which ones are really him, which is another kind of very almost modern politician. So you want to talk about this? Where do you want to start with the politics of their
Well,
various?
well, you can sort of see how um how their political beings work in different way. Horus is far more interpersonal. He
Yeah,
he he is very much the guy who will, well, find your strengths and and enhance them, but he will also play on your weaknesses,
weaknesses.
which is what you can see in the way that he handles Perturabo, for instance. Um, there's, I mean, the Guilliman's system is far more based on honor. Like he has a huge amount of belief in an honorable system, and that people will be honest if they are just given the chance. But he is not as naive as, say, perhaps I'm gonna get some reactions to this, Vulcan, for instance.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
Vulcan boys,
Uh-oh.
do you want to
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
defend?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't call well Vulcan quote unquote naive, because like I don't think any of the prior marks are truly naive.
no, no,
But
that,
I
Or they
yeah,
all are in some ways, I would say. They've all got,
From the
yeah,
Emperor's secrecy.
yeah.
yeah.
Go on,
yeah, but
Mike.
I was gonna say yeah, like Vulcan, like he's kind of like almost like I say the a mix of Horus and kind of that interpersonal and Roboute, like trusting the system. But we've already done the
That's where I'm
Vulcan.
like, oh, guys, you got to defend your
Yeah,
guy. He's your guy. I needed to give you a
yeah,
chance to jump in there. But yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and Helga, this is where I struggle with Horus because they're pointing us all the naming conventions. Chthon is Greek for earth,
Yeah,
and
Catalonia, yeah.
yeah, and Horace really, he's a populist, right? He really tries to present himself as an everyman. He's so not. He's almost like I'm getting ahead of myself invoking Sanguinius, but it's the opposite. He like just puts on a humanity suit as opposed to really struggling it with Sanguinius. Whereas, like you said,
I think you're confusing him with Conrad Kurz again on putting
you're
on.
just dropping all the freaking bombs, aren't you, man? Like you came to riot today.
Yeah, but no, but it's that there are a few really interesting points that you raise. I mean, the fact that he's a populist,
Yeah.
you can kind of see that in the reaction to the regular humans when he is wounded on the moon of Davin.
Yeah.
And the way that they gather around the landing area to sort of see if the rumors are true, and
Mm-hmm.
and his legion basically just, fuck this,
Yeah.
we're just gonna plow through, and I think they actually kill
A
like
lot of them,
100
yeah.
people, yeah, like
Yeah.
100 people or something in that incident, and that's sort of like even Garville Loken is a part of that massacre,
Yeah.
which is
But
just,
that's the way populists tend to go.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
That that's the that's the thing about him is that if you look at um the two different um ways you could see these two characters. I mean, Guilliman is definitely more of a classical Roman senator, while Horus is Caesar. Horus is the character who there was also Sulla before
Mhm.
Caesar, who sort of picked up on the same trends that Caesar would eventually just abuse. But Horus is definitely the populist, sort of riding on the common man's
Yeah.
ears, and so yeah, so that's a really good.
I can't really agree with Horus being Caesar.
Well, hold that because Carl, I'm going to go to Carl next, then I'll go to you because I think that's another discussion point. Like the analogies with Horus, there's a lot of them. So, Carl, what did you want to say?
So what happened at Davin, there's this really grim lore where when Horus gets stabbed with the what's it called the Anaphan blade. That
Yeah,
was
and anathema, yeah,
yeah, because
anathema,
of
yeah.
Erebus. When he was gravely injured, like the Sons of Horus, they were just pulling him away, but they would also just plow through like lots of like humans that were just in the way, but just like we have to get Horus out for medical, and they just plow right through them like they were just meat, and what they just cause a huge mess, which adds more to the hundreds of people that died during that event. It was really gruesome. Like,
Yeah,
geez.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, but again, drawing from history, I agree. Now, Stephen, getting back to you, I mean, saying to me, you said I wouldn't agree that Horace is Caesar. Go because I have my thoughts, but I don't want to steal your thunder.
So I see Horus more as Shakespeare's Cassius from, of course, Julius Caesar, where one of his main motivations for starting the heresy was he believed that the emperor was trying to set himself up as a god and, a tyrant among humanity. And he
See,
believed he could do so much better. The famous line, there was a Brutus once that would never see a king. I'm paraphrasing, of course. Don't
right,
Shakespeare scholars don't get on me. Who would never see a king in Rome. And that's Horus. That's how he gets, some of the other Primarchs on his side is, pretty much telling them, look, the emperor is setting himself up to be, the one ruler of humanity, the tyrant of humanity and the stars. We cannot let this happen.
right. Now, I mean, there's also a lot of Julius Caesar symbolism with Roboute as well, with Connor's assassination, Connor Gilliman's.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I would say yes, he is Caesar, but he is also, I mean, his name is freaking Horus, which is the Egyptian sky god, right? He's sort of this
Yeah.
Voltron
So
of, yeah,
it's an irony because Horus was the favorite son of Osiris,
yeah,
um, and the one to avenge his death by Set, while Horus is the one that kills, tries to kill his father,
yeah.
but
And there's
doesn't quite succeed.
there's a lot of Lucifer in Horus as well. Like he really is this amalgam of
Well,
favored. Go ahead,
it's
yeah.
his last name as well, Lupercal.
Lupercal, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what I'm gonna I don't necessarily disagree with Stephen on his
Hmm.
points. I mean, the idea of him being Cassius is well founded, but it's you could also see how he is at the end of the Horus Heresy trying to set himself up as a king. And he is the one who crosses the Rubicon by massacring his own
Right,
his own loyalists, to put it, I mean his legion's loyalists,
yeah,
on Islam 3. So it's there's truth in both positions, I think. So there is this point of no return in Horus's life as well. there is this point where he goes alea acta est, uh, and just throws the dice. And
Yeah. Well, he's definitely flashy in everything he does. Matthew, Mike, I mean, Matthew, I know I'm going to hit a button here, but it's like Horus is that big, flashy, not in the policies, just in style, like Reagan, Kennedy, even Obama.
Hmm.
Whereas Roboute lands like Gordon Brown to me.
Farmer.
See the face. I
Hmm.
knew I'd get something there. He's a good
Is
administrator. He's not a good retail politician.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just interested in your choice of politicians there. And everyone else saying who? It's a very, very,
We're Canadian.
uh,
We know a lot about British politics. Wait,
yeah, I
Gordon
mean,
Brown isn't a well-known reference, guys. Do you know who I'm
I
talking
mean,
about?
I
Not
know on the
here.
surface.
Well,
Oh, okay.
that
he
fits him perfectly because
Right.
he
yeah.
was
Who?
he he was prime minister for a couple of years from 2008 to 2010,
Yeah, see, if
roughly.
I'd said John Diefenbaker over here in Canada, nobody would have known except Carl who
Mm,
that was either. So,
I
yeah.
would have said Calvin Coolidge here for the States. So
Yeah.
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 And for us, it's Torbjörn Jagland. So
I have no idea who that
and
is,
no
but
one
Norwegian names
react.
always sound cool. Yeah. But you know what I
And
mean, Matthew? Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean, and I don't think you're wrong. Again, Horus can definitely see the populist side of him. Um, is very much, and you see the aftermath in the aftermath of the embarkation massacre, where Horus is dragged through a crowd full of concerned people who just get trampled underboot.
Yeah.
Um, so Garvey Loken, who's one of the people carrying him, is this. Well, how much can a Space Marine be distraught? But he's bothered by it.
Yeah.
After what had happened, and knew that he was acting to save his Primarch, and that's what needed to be done. But then why did this happen? And he feels bad about it. And Horus, nah, they should have been. We should have got out of the way. Why are they there? Sort of thing. But you one of the more interesting things about Horus for me is he's very. You don't his fall to chaos starts immediately
Yeah.
from Horus Rising. It's actually the first sort of event that kicks it off is the death of one of his closest Marines. It happens before the
To be
start
honest,
of yeah,
See, I
before
would
the
argue
Janus
the minute he landed on Chthon, it started.
Chthonium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chthonian.
California.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe. But
I mean,
it's
he
I
got in
mean,
with criminal gangs.
yeah, but
We
you
think
know,
he didn't
that's
have
not
a
for sure.
choice. It's
Right.
like
well,
it's
Yeah.
it's
like
not
Conrad
But
Kurz.
but he deliberately maintained the habits and accents of those gangs. He clearly picked something up from them.
Yeah, it was, I mean, they were his people. I mean, it's the
Right.
same. You can say the same thing about any of the Primarchs. They all retain the traits of their adopted worlds.
Yeah.
I mean, and you could argue that. I don't. The way I've always read the character is I've not seen it that way. In the Horus team, I mean, for me, Lorgar was the first to fall to chaos and was raised in chaos in essence because of the planet he landed on. And corrupted the other. Well, his legion spread and corrupted the others, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
Lagos dictating it. Um, Horus was recovered first. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Still a child when he was recovered and returned to the Emperor. Spent 30 years at the Emperor's side and was effectively raised by the Emperor. So Horus, if anything, is the closest to what the Emperor intended the Primarchs to be. Um,
That's interesting. Yeah.
and he then becomes War Master, was the Emperor's stand-in in the galaxy effectively, and you see this constant chip of so the first 4 books or so of um chaos interjecting itself and
Mm-hmm.
exposing himself to the Interrex and the Anatheme and having Erebus whispering in his ear and having the demonic incursions that started questions that Horus would have to answer and expose him. And I mean, the only way I would defend against is, oh, it could have started much earlier as well. If they'd been converting him or corrupting him from such an early age, um, why do they have to interject so much at the later stages? It was,
That you're
yeah,
ahead of me. Yeah.
it was more okay. I mean, so in my mind, he was chosen by the Emperor as War Master because he was pure at that point when he was selected. It was the closest the Emperor had wanted. But and because of the various multitude of bad decisions the Emperor makes and all the things, he's ends up being turned over the span of the first 4 or 5 books.
See,
Um,
see, I think that sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
through a massive effort of chaos undivided.
Right. See, I think that chaos started because don't forget, chaos decided where to put the Primarchs when they
I
stole them.
mean,
Well,
we don't know that.
no, not for sure, but
Not for sure, but
it's one of the theories. I
Yeah.
mean that's what Conrad Kurz intimates in his conversation with Sanguinius, where he says that isn't it interesting how every one of the Primarchs landed on a planet that was perfect for them.
well, but also I do think, and Mike, I'm curious what you think about this. I think this may open up another wing of discussion, sanguineous wing. But the fact that it was sort of a three-way split of who was going to be War Master. Rogel would have done a great job. Uh, Roboute would have done a great job. I think that, and we can't know it's in the Emperor's head, but he ultimately chose Horus because he was the closest, he knew him best. He was the first discovered firstborn son, even though he wasn't the first, this gets confusing, first discovered
Yeah.
son. What do you think of that sort of specialness? Because Roboute and Horus share that Emperor's favored moniker.
Yeah, to me it's kind of like the emperor kind of chose heroic leadership style over kind of like the command style of like of Roboute and Rogodon, because like Horus to me has always been kind of like like that heroic lead from the front, but you get to see the dark side of that type of leadership. So I think that's like one of the emperor's great mistakes is like he kind of fell for that kind of romantic, like, look at my favorite son, my like who does all those heroic things, but the emperor, because the emperor, well, at least at the was human as any of these guys are, like he kind of he let that heroicness kind of blind him, because yeah, because like that's what yeah, sorry. Because that's one of the issues with Horus is like, since he's always lead from the front, that's how he gets stabbed with basically a chaos blade.
Mhm.
If like he'd been like taken the command style of Roboute or Rogel, he would have probably never have been stabbed. So I think that's kind of like yeah, I know a lot of people say like, oh, the Emperor planned everything. It's like, no, I don't think so. And I think this is like kind of like his greatest, like, making Horus the War Master was him succumbing to the emotions of like the favored son, and making that mistake.
See, you let me bring in something I wanted to bring up. Horus's hype man abilities, right? He's the one that am I remembering this correctly? It wasn't the Emperor that decided how they were going to greet all the other Primarchs. That was very heavily Horus deciding how they were going to persuade the various other Primarchs to join when they show up on
Well,
their planets. Is that
it,
right?
it depends on which Primarch we're talking about. Because the Lehman Russ, for instance, was introduced to Horus on the
Yeah.
Emperor's ship.
And the Emperor intervenes directly in the more like Vulcan and like the more one-to-one
Yeah.
approach the Emperor takes. But that big color guard that lands on Nostradamus with Conrad Curves, that was peak Horus right
Oh yeah,
there.
yeah,
The
yeah,
guy
yeah.
understands the Flash, and to me, that the fact that Horus has something that the Emperor isn't as good at, it seems, to me, is a very interesting detail and part of the reason I think the Emperor chose him. Because he really did have that appealing to the masses as opposed to that appeal one on one. But, Mike, as you said, there's a dark side with that, and it happens the minute he's chosen as War Master, and guys like Angron don't take that well at all. And that very populist "I'm one of you" splinters the minute you're elevated by position, and they've had nothing but issues ever since, even before the drop site massacre and whatnot. Carl, yeah.
Yes. So I like to add, like, I like where you were really going with Horus, because he, as soon as he was titled War Master, he had a insurmountable amount of responsibilities, even for as a Primarch. Now he has to maintain his image. He was constantly being followed with remembrancers, and
Yeah.
he has way more responsibility in a way that I see him. I compare him, Horace. Don't know if you'll agree. Kind of like Two-Face from the Batman series, or like the Dark Knight movie. If you can see what I'm trying to say. He he tried to do the right thing, but inside he felt like there was too much responsibility, had too much pressure, that eventually it just breaks.
No, yeah, I mean, Stephen, you wanted to talk about this like relationship with Sanguinius. And there's ambivalence with those two. I mean, you see Sanguinius is big Team Horus for War Master, right? Sanguinius is also the guy that talks him into changing the name of the Lunar Wolves.
Yes, but
Yeah,
so Horus saw Sanguinius as his rival. He always saw himself as ironically second best to Sanguinius.
yeah.
While, Horus was handsome, Sanguinius was beautiful. While Horus was popular, Sanguinius was beloved. And he always felt that way. And I think that's one of the reasons why Chaos was able to get his hooks in him, because he did have that jealousy with Sanguinius. And of course, when the Emperor started finding more Primarchs, Horus swore to himself that he would always be the favored son, no matter what. And so I think that like really drove him into things. And then of course Sanguinius was, of course Team Horus. It felt felt like looked up to him and didn't really see the resentment that I wouldn't say resentment, but the jealousy that Horus had, and Horus was able to hide it, of course. But it really came out later as the sides started splitting and everything, and it's very climactic. Of course, you see my my background here, which
Yeah.
Horus kills Sanguinius and Emperor. And then finally, doing that and killing his brother who he loves but also hates, because he feels he's so much better. And while Guilliman kind of has more just like an ultimate respect for Sanguinius, he can see Sanguinius's like good parts and everything and respects him, but he never really has that like love-hate relationship with them. He doesn't have that reverence for Sanguinius, and also that that burning jealousy of Sanguinius that some of the other Primarchs had.
Because he doesn't revere anybody but the Emperor.
Touching on that, like after he wakes up, it's that's another thing. That's the Horus's relationship with the Emperor and Roboto's relationship with the Emperor later on, where of course Horus revered the Emperor, wanted to become his favorite son, and when he fell hard and hated everything about him. While Roboto never really he revered him, but he never really thought of him as like this perfect being. And
no, he believed in the vision. Yeah,
he believed in the vision, but
yeah,
he's like, well, like, okay, so sorry, sorry, Matthew, I'm going to go talk Marvel some more.
Okay.
Horus is Cyclops versus Professor X, while Roboto is Wolverine towards Professor X. And what
Oh,
you're getting at
okay. I
here
see that.
is,
Gotcha.
you know, Cyclops was
Mm.
raised to be a child soldier by Xavier. Well,
Put in
Wolverine
charge.
believes in Xavier's dream so much he'll even fight Xavier over it. And I think that, for people who, know X-Men, they'll understand that analogy. And I'm very sorry, Matthew.
Well, because
Okay.
personality-wise, I would argue that Robot's more Cyclops in the
Personality wise, yes,
yeah.
but like as their idealism
No, I
is,
agree with
they're
you
very much
that
Cyclops and Wolverine.
how they're opted in, I'd almost say that Robot's more beast in that regard.
He's beast, but like I said, Wolverine believes in Xavier's
Yeah.
dream so much that he's willing to fight Xavier over it if he feels like Xavier is not
Yes.
following
Yeah.
up on it.
Well, there's more of a I would never say anybody's the Emperor's peer, but there's like a respect there as opposed to that very obvious father-son
Yeah.
relationship. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Let's stay on the favored son thing, but also stay on the sanguineous thing. Because the thing with me is, there's the whole, I said the voice chair with, oh, blanking. We did it yesterday. Um,
Oh,
uh,
Dawn and Portarabo.
Portarabo. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Horus, they actually do the pitch meeting, right? He goes in to the warp and they show him this vision, trying to scare him into it. It's a vision that turns out to be true. The Imperium's a disaster, and the other Primarchs are revered, but not him. Sanguinius is the guy with the most precognition. There's little elements of it here and there with others. Kurz sees only the worst.
Yep.
But why does Sanguinius not get the tip off that there's a problem here? This is something or does he, and he's trying to just prevent it?
Well, it's the problem of premonition in general in Warhammer 40K, where and as I've said in another iteration of this men liking stuff, that in Master of Mankind, the Emperor explains how his premonition or his prescience works, how he is able to see the top of the cliff, but he's not able to um he's not able to sort of see every handhold
Mm-hmm.
that he needs to get to the top of the cliff. So it is like Sanguinius is aware that he dies
Right.
on the vengeful spirit.
Yeah, like he knows.
But he only knows that he dies. He doesn't know who killed him. He doesn't know until Horus betrays the Emperor. That's when he realizes
Yeah.
what is going to happen. But it is also, I mean, that's the thing, is that the premonitions in 40K are
They're always double-edged.
yeah, they are,
Yeah.
because what Horus sees through the help of the four chaos gods is true, but it's true because of the choices that
But
Horus
Horus
makes.
makes, right. It's a self-fulfilling
After.
prophecy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. He by doing what he's doing, he's actually causing the future he's trying
Right.
to work against.
Right.
And this, I mean, this is also true to a certain degree with Lorgar's premonition.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to how like he prepares his home planet for the Emperor, and he thinks that's going to save. Um, I'm blanking on the name right now, but
Hmm.
he believes that that's going to save his planet, and it doesn't.
Of course
It
not.
doomed
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he believes it to be a divine figure, not
Hmm.
his not his human father, which, you know,
Right.
the Emperor's a lot of amazing things, but he keeps on saying he's not a
Not a
god.
god. Yeah. Stephen, so did Sanguinius miss, or was he just trying to make the best of it?
think you're just trying to make the best of it. Like you said, it's a lot of 40K premonition turns out to be self-fulfilling prophecy half the time,
Hmm.
with Horus, with Logar. Conrad Cruz is, very much a did you try anything else?
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
Yeah.
it's cool.
I'm right.
Yeah.
No, I'm
I'm
right.
And I'm
I'm
gonna
right, but
prove that the worst is gonna happen. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and that that's I'm sure you guys already did Cruz. I missed that
We
unfortunately.
talked a lot about the fact that it's like this metaphor for psychic depression. Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
like I think a lot like anything, but it's also like it has hints of like the Grecan tragedy. Like a lot of the
We go back
premonitions,
to that.
Oedipus, his father believed he was going to kill him, so of course he sends him out to get killed. The guy doesn't do it. He gets raised as a sheep herder. He comes back, kills his father, not knowing it's his father, and sleeps with the mother, not knowing it's his mother. It's the same thing, right? Like it's the Games Workshop really took for like that part. They really took like the Grecan tragedy and be like, we're just going to apply it to here because it works so well. And why fix something that isn't broken?
But they graft in the Norse kind of Odin going for that knowledge, and the Egyptian and a lot of Sumerian, and then some,
Oh yeah, they added like
Taradic story as well. Yeah.
a lot of things. But like I think the core of like their premonition storylines is very Grecan.
Oh yeah.
It's Greek tragedy all the way through.
Yeah, yeah. So, Matthew, I know you're big on Sanguinius too. What do you think about this tension between their very close friendship, and Sanguinius probably knows something?
Well, he has premonitions
Hmm.
that intensify as the heresy goes on.
Yeah.
But I mean, it ties incredibly closely to the whole concept of time and fate in 40K, which
Yeah.
is an extremely large topic and very problematic in its own sense. You have these whole temporal loops going on,
Yeah.
and is everything predetermined, and time travel, all of it. But the thing is, when it comes to Sanguinius and Horus and the premonition that Sanguinius should have had from his point of view, and he knew he was going to die.
Hmm.
All right, we all know we're going to die.
Right.
It's we're not. He had he had various images of death, and every time multiple characters who had premonitions and they turn out to be wrong. They turn out to be different things. Which he kept trying to fight against it all the way right up until the very end, and didn't believe it was unavoidable.
Well, he
Um,
used it sometimes though to
yeah.
to affect his decisions too. Like with Angron, it's like, yeah, we fight. Not here. Not today.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, he refused. He turned down the offer to get into a scrap with Angron, which is always a
Yeah.
good decision.
Well,
So,
yes, maybe
it's
that was just letting Angron down easy. Good point. Yeah.
You'd wish Lehman would learn that fucking lesson.
Yeah,
you
well,
think.
yeah, cool moments, bro. Yeah, but that's a good point. I mean, he doesn't fight it nearly as much as the others, though.
No, but even the Eldari do
Oh yeah.
as well. So at the end of the Siege of Terra, the Eldari are just they're busy having their big dance party demonstrating the coming of the Dark King, and okay, now we need to get away because this is going to be worse than the birth of Slanesh, and it's going to wipe out
Right.
everything when this happens. Um, and then that doesn't happen, and just mind you,
Hmm.
but and instead Horus goes, "Let you end up where we are." But it's it's one of the issues I have with saying that why didn't Sanguinius, how did Sanguinius, well, it's trying giving it the most gracious run up I can. As a character, Sanguinius just has these flashes of images of a what are potential futures, or what he thinks are potential
Right.
futures, whether or not whether it's set in stone or whether there are actual just multiple futures that are potential that you can see through the warp. I mean, again, whole topic on its own.
Hmm.
Um, it's a big jump to go. Okay, well, I've had this vision, so now I need to do this. I mean, he makes the best choices he can based on them when he
Hmm.
has them. He will have he has debates with Kurz over
Yeah.
the Emperor's intent. Because again, it's like you said before, oh well, they all end up, did Chaos direct all the Primarchs? Several of the Primarchs come to the conclusion that actually they ended up on the exact planets the Emperor wanted them to,
Hmm.
and the Emperor only discovered them when he wanted to discover them. I mean, that ties into the whole thing about, did
Yeah.
the Emperor plan the heresy and everything and give them the
Yeah.
power of the Emperor and everything? I mean, you can't say it's not possible, it is, but this means that the Emperor had a several thousand year plan that would result in him being a cabbage on a chair for 10,000 years, which isn't
Split in
really the
two.
best plan in my
Oh,
idea.
great. Now
But,
he's Liz Truss. We've gone from Gordon Brown to Liz Truss.
yeah, but,
You guys know who Liz Truss is, right? All right, I got one. Yeah, okay.
there we go. So, yeah, um, yeah, I think Sanguinius, cares for his brothers,
Mhm.
tries for his brothers, and I don't think any of them saw it coming with Horus, even though,
Mhm.
yeah, Sanguinius foresees his death. I mean, the
But
frequency of those
go ahead.
visions only ramps up the closer he gets to his death.
But
So,
you made an interesting point, and Mike, I'm curious about what you think about this, that Sanguinius, he's like he's got these snippets, but that doesn't mean you just act. But that's the hype man believe the hype element of Horus in the war. That one of his closest like advisors knows you don't act on this crap. And yet that's exactly what Horus does. What do you think about that?
It's kind of like, well, one, it's kind of like, the flaw of Horus, because he has to be loved. It's like, he has to be the center of attention. So it's like, oh, I see this, like Horus can't basically get out of his own way and say like, hey, maybe this is a job for somebody else. So kind of like, that corrupted, like a savior complex. That's why Horus acts on like all these, possible like of futures. He sees like, oh, I have to be the one to make it all right. Um but that's that's kind of, like a flaw of Horus, because I know like in the first Heretic, a demon, when they're talking to like the Wardbearer Legion, hey, like knock down this Geller field so we can like t toss the Primarchs off. The demon mentions like, oh, there's like a bunch of possible futures, but it is a demon saying this, so they like to lie, but also they tell the truth when no one believes them. So it's kind of like one of those things about Warhammer 40K. It's like, is if things are set or not. There's like like proof for that. But yeah, I definitely see that like that's like kind of like one of like the great flaws of Horse is like he can't get out of his own way, so he has to act because basically believes no one else can save the day but me.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to add something to this?
Uh,
Guineas, Horus, prophecy, what the heck went on in the warp? We haven't even mentioned Magnus, and he was there.
mm, nah, sorry, I got nothing. We could just
Well,
like proceed to the next point.
yeah, I mean, let's move on to what you wanted to talk about, the leadership styles, and this is the last thing. I feel like We've been talking for almost an hour and we've barely scratched the surface on
Oh,
these
yeah.
That's
guys.
40K. There's
Oh
too much to
man.
talk.
I really want to do a management training, the Warhammer 40K style, because there's a lot of, you
What
know,
not to do.
well,
Heresy is therapy.
the truth can come from the worst people in the world, and lies can come from your closest advisors. But I mean, these two guys, the biggest difference between them is how they approach adaptability and problem solving. And I know both you and Stephen wanted to talk about this. So let's get this in as our final point. We've talked about Roboute being kind of boring and very effective. He's an army marches on his stomach kind of guy, whereas Horus is the flash. He's the hype. He'd be a social media master in our but he's also very I alone can fix it. Sorry, Americans, Trump thing. I tried to avoid that, but it's there. We don't blame Horus for this. What do you think, Carl, about the compare and contrast in leadership styles?
I think that I like that both Roboute and Horus, they have a lot of similarities in what comes to leadership, because you see more like Roboute is more like out of necessity, because he at first, like after the Horus heresy happened, there was the scouring, and then he created the codex for everyone to follow, and not everyone was on board with that, because it just cuts off like the trust that Roboute had with the other Primarchs and the other legions. But eventually they all come to agreement. They almost started the civil war. And then when Roboute now woke up for in the more present day, which is like 41st, 42nd year, he kind of is more like, he's sort of like by interim the War Master, well, not title, within the Imperium, and there's a lot of clash between him and the Inquisition, because because this is like where Horus at first he was kind of like worried that the Astartes and the Primarchs would lose the control of the other humans, because then they would start to govern and start taking more higher leadership roles. And Horus was a little worried about that, and this is where Roboute still follows through, but still he keeps, like, he does what's best and what's right, regardless.
I mean, that's a style and a substance thing, Stephen, because like Horus likes the grand gesture, right? No, 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 I will not change my legion's name. Now I will. Sanguinius talked me into it, but Roboute really likes documents. He really likes the codexes. He really likes putting things down in long form. What does this say, or take it in your own direction, about, their problem solving, their different problem solving approaches?
This is going to sound weird, but both of them are Eisenhower. And
Mm,
don't get that. So during World War II, the Allies had to coordinate with a lot of different countries, England, the Free French, the US, and Russia being the main players, as well as a bunch of other smaller countries. And so they put Eisenhower in control of, the top general. And so he had to coordinate all these people and send them both to different places. And so Horus kind of has that, I can coordinate these people and send them to different places where they're most effective type of thing that Eisenhower had. While Guilliman is very much an army marches on a stomach. The three most effective weapons in World War II was the deuce and a half, the supply plane, and the supply boat. Notice none of these have weapons.
right.
Type of person. But I think Horus definitely has that shades of like MacArthur and Patton, where
Yeah.
especially if you've ever seen the movie Patton, where he stands out in front of the big flag and makes the big speech, and that is Horus to a T.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the grand gesture.
Yeah,
He's
the
the
grand
master
gesture,
of the grand gesture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then inspiring his people that way. While Guilliman is very much well, if we just treat them nice, they'll fight for us better.
If only that worked. And I will, for people listening at home, he did say Eisenhower, not Eisenhorn. I know we are talking about 40K, different things. Anything to add before I jump over to
Great
Mike?
book.
Yeah.
No, go ahead and let Mike go.
All right, Mike, what do you think about this, about the style and the substance of their leadership styles, how they solve problems? Because there is a lot of overlap because they're both effective.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
I'm going to talk more about Roboute because I like the best way I can describe him is kind of the chess master, as in like he's like not personally leading, but he's putting pieces like advancing like pieces because he can see like 10 moves ahead. But I think something also tries so he's like as others said like the logistics wins wars, but it's also he can be very ruthless. He's not above sacrificing a pawn or a rook or anything like that to to advance his agenda or his to win the game. Because I know like something like after his awakening, like one of the way he kind of caused almost maybe like a little like a civil war with like the Imperial Senate. He's like, okay, I'm gonna reshuffle these guys. I'm gonna kick you guys out, but I'm gonna let you keep your your house armies. And of course, that led to like a power struggle. The people he kicked out made a play for power, but all of a sudden, like, oh hey, look at all these reinforcements out of nowhere, and he uses to kind of crush his opponents. So that's kind of the thing about Roboute is like, okay, I got the supplies, I got the trucks. I will sacrifice a pawn if need to, but he's kind of like, let me put all my ducks in a row, and then I win type of leadership.
That's another good compare and contrast there, Mike Matthew. I'm wondering what you think about this. Is the emotion versus reason compare and contrast between these two guys? Because let's face it, a big part of Horus turning is he feels rejected, abandoned, whatever you want to call it, when the Emperor goes back to, we're going to do the Council of Terra. I'm going to work on the webway. You got this.
Yeah, I mean he does, but then again, so does Dawn. So
Yeah,
do a lot of the Primarchs. They feel
but Reboot doesn't.
because
Yeah,
no, and
he's very, I
from
see his
the
point.
it yeah, but because Roboute has a very I like to think of him more as kind of like a Walmart night manager. He just sits in his office, goes through his SOPs, and divvies out the stuff
Writes
where it needs to
really,
go.
really long reports. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, that's who he is. I
I
mean,
can see that. Yeah.
he's a master strategist. He orchestrates all these things, but there's no guile to him
Yeah.
really. Whereas Horus is also a master strategist, but he will plan. So they'll both plan everything out, and you know, Roboute will type it all up and then pin it to the notice board in painstaking detail. Whereas Horus will not say, "Well, have his plan," and then I tell everybody a different version of it for what they want to hear to direct them where he wants them. You know,
Yeah.
it's which is going back to the same point. So that's why I see the biggest difference in their styles. Um, one of the best things with Guilliman is you do see his growth, as was said earlier, when he after his return, when he realizes that, well, okay, so splitting up the legions made sense when I did it at the time, but maybe this wasn't the best idea,
Mm,
Right.
but now I got to
That's
deal
true.
with it. So he is growing and learning, and he is playing the game in with the Indomitus Crusade and everything. So he's starting to play more of the politician's role of, okay, yeah, so this is going to cause a massive problem in the Imperium if I come back as a Primarch now and dis unseat the Council of Terror, and they want to do this, so I'm going to play this, and they're actually going to be quite happy if I disappear off in the Indomitus Crusade because then I'm not overshadowing them, and so he's starting to play more of that with a more interesting role, shall we say?
yeah.
it's so he is getting, well, I can't say that, maybe more Horus-like, I guess,
I mean, the
as
female
he goes.
custodian
But
showed up on his watch. He's not afraid of controversy. That was a joke, people.
okay.
That was a joke. But no, it's true. Anything you want to add before I jump to you on Helge?
No, no.
Okay. Yeah, that is a good point, and that makes me think, Jan Helge, the last bit, the fact that, Roboute's the second choice, right? He's cleaning up the mess from the first guy, and we don't know what him and the Emperor talked about. They 40K, they shroud it in secrecy. But you get the sense he's like, did you guys not read the material instead of going, if you'd come to me first, right? You don't get the sense of that. It's just you guys really screwed this up, not it should have been me. I think that's a real character point for him.
Well,
What do you think?
well, yeah, it's. I think that Roboute has a lot more trust, as I said, in humanity. So he's willing to use the strengths of of other people. Sort of, he doesn't, as everyone has said, he doesn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
To sort of, he's not someone who needs to be the visual leader, even though in the scouring there's a lot of the other Primarchs accusing him
Yeah.
of needing to be that leader. He as we've hinted to earlier, the sort of mini civil war that is sort of looming because of the conflict between him and Dorne.
Yeah.
It's not just rooted in the Codex Astartes, which he pens at the end of the or at the tail end of the scouring. He has an ability to see where the problem's gonna arise. But then again, it's like the premonition thing. He can't see every problem that's gonna appear, but he trusts in people to sort of solve the problems if he can give them
Mm-hmm.
like a guide. It's one of the reasons why, like, if Horus were to lead the Indomitus Crusade, he would have led one fleet, while Roboute splits it up into different minor fleets to solve different problems, and he trusts the people he places in command of each fleet to do their job. He has painstakingly, as Matthew said, painstakingly written a list and hung it up on the fridge, and sort of made it clear for everyone what their jobs are.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
he trusts in people to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Horus needs to be there, not just to be seen, but also to make it clear that that they do what they are there to do. And there's also like a type of like Roboute Guilliman is aware that after the battle the job is not done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Horus, after the battle, he'll just allow his soldiers to run riot.
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge difference between, and let's not forget that Roboute Guilliman was the one with the most compliant worlds
Mm-hmm.
under him during the heresy, during the Great Crusade. So it's,
Well, it's set
yeah,
right at
but
the
then again,
top.
you could,
Yeah.
yeah, but then again, you could argue that was because of the Ultramar 500, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, would you say that it's that we talked previously about the heretic Primarchs. It's this thing about credit. They need the glory. They need to be noticed. They need daddy to
Yeah,
pay attention to them. Whereas the loyalists tend to be more results driven.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
absolutely.
agree.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
There's an introvert extrovert credit system as far as they're concerned, because the most of the loyalists are driven by an internal will,
Yeah.
while the traitors, a lot of them, have to have extroverted credit because they need other people to approve of what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean that's why I think the conflict between Guilliman and Dorn will ultimately, that's a good conflict to have because their goals are the
Yes.
same. How they execute it, as opposed to what happened with the heresy, where when someone feels that rejected, that's scorned, we could invoke the cliche, hell hath no fury, like the favored son scorned.
Yeah.
That there's really no coming back from that. The pieces were set up almost, we go back to Shakespeare with Othello or Hamlet or those tragedies where it was sort of nudge, 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 push. But yeah, I mean, I think that the Emperor of Mankind's decision to handle Horus that way, that's gonna be, we could debate that for another hour, but we are out of time. So guys, thanks. Again, we got through a lot here, and just scratched the surface. But again, that's the
That
amazing thing.
that's
We
40K.
we limited ourselves to 1 to 2,000 word essays, not 5 to 10,000 word essays. So good job, everybody, for your brevity, and thanks for coming here and liking stuff, because liking stuff is manly. We've got more Primarchs to come, but there's a little bit of the fog of the warp. We have to book more ones, but we got more to come on this series, guys. Thanks so much for your time, your knowledge, and your positivity.